Hey, hey, hey. Happy Thursday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, interestingly enough, gaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief, and have been for 15 years. Well, it's true. I'm not making that up. It's not a lie. So welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Thursday, September 4th, 2025. This is live show 1232. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. We just hang out talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And every once in a while, maybe I'll tackle a topic related to our hobby. Once every blue moon, I might just hang with the gang and just chat. But most of the times, I actually take first looks at games. We tend to skew heavily towards role-playing games. And we will be doing that again tonight because I will be sharing a first look at the West Marches campaign, Playstyle campaign from Karl Kristoffersen. So we're going to dive on in. We're going to take a peek at this in just a bit. If you are tuning in for the West Marches first look, let me point out, I always tackle the tabletop gaming news first around here. So it's probably going to be about 35, 40 minutes, maybe even a couple of minutes more than that before we get into the West Marches. So if you're watching live, just kick back. Put your feet up, relax, enjoy yourself. The weekend is almost here. Oh, so close, but not quite yet. Of course, if you're hanging out watching this after the stream ends, hell, maybe even on Memorex, keep in mind there are timestamps. Now you can skip past tabletop gaming news if you'd like. I don't know why you would, because there's a lot of cool role-playing game news tonight, as we normally have just about every night we do a show. But if you have to just skip past it, there are timestamps. You'll find those timestamps down in the show notes. Also, depending on the device you might happen to be watching this on, could be right there in the timeline of the video. Just a quick click, and you're on your way. How about that? Now, you'd think we were in the 21st century, huh? Sweet. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And then, of course, because this is a live show, there is chat available. You do have to be a subscriber to the channel in order to take part in chat, and you must be a subscriber for at least an hour before you can do so. But if you check that box and you want to say howdy, maybe get a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my very best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Roger Perdome, Sean O'Donnell, Semper Buffo, our good friend of the show, the Madman, also happens to be one of our chat moderators, is with us, as is W. Forge, Keithulu, Robert Santon, and J-Man, and Anthony Simone is popping on in to join us as well. So it looks like chat is off, rocking and rolling. Oh, hey, we've got even more people. Game Cat is with us too. So yes, ahoy there, says Game Cat. Well, ahoy to everyone. Welcome aboard. We are going to dive on into the show in just a couple of moments. Did want to mention, I did go see an endocrinologist today. Yeah, it's kind of a waste. I didn't learn anything. So they drew a bunch of blood, and then they want me to go have an ultrasound on my neck, see what's going on. But the doctor did feel, so now I have an underperforming thyroid gland. Why did I like stop on the thyroid? What the hell is it called? So we're trying to deal with that because the medications I'm taking, which I'm taking these huge dosages, it just isn't cutting it. But this doctor told me that there's some sort of, I think they're antigens that could be in my blood, which could be throwing all this stuff off and making these readings that they're getting about my thyroid completely wrong. I'm like, okay, all right. Because I don't have like the bulging eyes. I do have a little kind of tightness in my throat. Well, we'll find out when I go do the ultrasound. So I know I had mentioned this. It only took me 10 months to finally get in after making the appointment 10 months ago. And I was in and out of there, even out of the lab where they drew my blood within about 45 minutes. It was crazy. I was happy because I didn't want to spend my entire day hanging around at the hospital, but still very nice. Lord Cost 2000 and Captain Finity Time Travel Police are both with us. Keith Lewis says, interesting. They're also getting labs done for low thyroid output next month. Well, I'll tell you what, if they put you on levothyroxine, it is levothyroxine. I think that's how it's pronounced. Depending on the dosage, get ready for the acid reflux. Never had any acid reflux in my entire life till I got stuck having to take this. Now, thankfully, it's not like an everyday thing. So, Roger Perdome says their girlfriend's been taking Synthroid for years. That was something else the doctor told me, that maybe they'll look at trying to put me onto some different medications. I was like, oh, we'll find out. So I have to call tomorrow to schedule the ultrasound. Yes, but you're not coming and hanging out and chat to hear about my medical issues. Hell no, you're here to find out what the fuck is going on with tabletop role-playing games and take a look at the West Marches. So let's jump on into the news, because currently up on Kickstarter from our friends over at Kobold Press is Northlands. Here's the scoop. Northlands is a Dungeons & Dragons 2024, or as I prefer to refer to it, the new Dungeons & Dragons, and Tales of the Valiant project that provides all the reaving, looting, and rune-driven adventure you can imagine, plus horrific monsters and a tightly woven saga of Ragnarok for those who choose to challenge the gods and giants. This project makes those legends part of your campaign with the Northlands World Book, and it is going to be for D&D 2024, as well as being on D&D Beyond. And then there's also the Northlands Sagas, which is an adventure path, interestingly enough. I've never heard Kobold Press refer to an adventure campaign as an adventure path. That's new. That's also going to be available on D&D Beyond. There's also a Tales of the Valiant printing of the World Book. The Saga's adventure book is going to work perfectly for both games. And I will also point out that you are looking at this being fine for any really 5e adjacent fantasy role-playing game as well. Become a Reaver, Berserker, or Runic Mystic. You know, as soon as I said Berserker, I wanted to sing that song from Mallrats, but I don't remember the lyrics outside of Berserker. Or you can take on the mantle of Trollkin or Bearfolk. The options are all yours. The primary rewards are the Northlands World Book, the Northlands Sagas Adventure Book. I thought it was an adventure path. You just said it was an adventure path. and the D&D Beyond online licenses, which include both Worldbook and Sagas. The 288-page Worldbook will include over 50 monsters, 8 new subclasses, 5 new species, and 78 new spells just to get started. It also includes downtime activities, legendary drop-in realms like the Kingdoms of the Giants, epic rituals, and much more. The 192-page Sagas includes 11 tightly linked adventures that take your heroes from small time to the halls of Asgard in powerful, action-packed installments. With major reveals, new villains, and the patronage of one of the Norse gods, it's bigger and bolder than any other adventure path. Even Thor says so. Be smart, don't argue with Thor. There is a short, it's less than a minute, Kickstarter video for Northlands. So let's give it a peek.
In the far north, where the fates weave a path to glory, Ragnarok approaches, and heroes rise. From the forges of Kobold Press comes a new campaign overlay for Dungeons & Dragons 2024. Steeped in snow, steel, and myth. Choose your path to become a Reaver, Spirit Caller, or walk the Ring of Fenris. Wield giant-born magic, pilot war sleds, or clash in flighting battle of wits and words. Fate guides your blade with 30 new monsters, 10 factions, downtime rules, the all-new prophecy generator, and new playable species, including giantkin and werekin. Whether you raid, trade, or rise to challenge the gods themselves, the Northlands await. Back it now, only on Kickstarter.
This project is fully funded. In fact, it funded within minutes of launching. You can reserve a copy of both the hardcovers with PDFs, as well as other goodies, such as a bag of runes and so forth, for a pledge of $129. If you want to just get the books individually, you can. Memory serves, I think they were $59. That's why it makes more sense to just do the $129 for both and get some physical goodies, not just digital stuff. Now, if you want to just score the books digitally, you can do that for a $39 pledge through October 3rd. Expected delivery is next June. Sean O'Donnell asks, is Northlands originally Frog God Games for Swords and Wizardry? To be honest, I don't think so. Because off the top of my head, and it's not as if I go back 10, 15 years with Kobold Press. In fact, I don't know how long they've been around, but they've been around at least 10 years. I don't recall them redoing other publishers' work, but they will refresh their own. So the Zobek book that came out not too long ago was built off of the previous Zobek book, but I think that Zobek book was for Pathfinder. Now, I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, and Sean O'Donnell's on the right track. But just off the top of my head, to my knowledge, I have not seen Kobold Press kind of revise other companies' products and then call it their own. So just saying, this looks pretty cool. Hey, I've got the Labyrinth Adventures review on the horizon. Should see that within the next week or so. Tide you over until Northlands shows up. And I forget, somebody in chat yesterday had mentioned that my friends over at Kobold Press had sent out the link to my review of the Labyrinth World book in their, I think it's their newsletter they had sent out. Very nice. Very nice. Moonrise Long, Exalted Funeral is finally taking pre-orders for Dolmenwood from, I knew I had this in the wrong order. Why I oughta. Should have double checked. As you can see, I got down here moments before I had to stream. You'll find, I should point this out. If you ever notice that sometimes I tend to be a little sillier, like right off the bat, that means I just ran down here, got everything turned on, and, well, got to start streaming. Usually when I'm a little more reserved, I've had plenty of time to kick back, get everything ready. Was not the case today. Even though I only at the doctor for a little bit, I had a lot of other stuff to take care of today. Anyway, here is the lowdown on the player's book for Dolmenwood. The complete player's guide to the beguiling realm of Dolmenwood. Ooh, that's a nice word, beguiling. A moss-clad forest on the borders of Fairy, rife with intrigue, secrets, and magic. Step then, bold and foolhardy adventurer, into the tangled wood, and beware, for little here is as it seems. Referees will also need the Dolmenwood campaign book as well as the Dolmenwood monster book. The player's book includes an introduction to the intrigues and mysteries of Dolmenwood, 6 kindreds, goat-headed Breggles, starry-eyed elves, tricksome Grimmelkin, cat fairies, everyday humans, fungus-riddled mosslings, and bat-faced woodgrews. You've got 9 classes: bard, cleric, enchanter, fighter, friar, hunter, knight, magician, and thief. 4 kinds of magic: mighty arcane workings, fairy glamours and runes, holy prayer to the saints, and the odd knacks of mosslings. Flavorful equipment with lists of adventuring gear, arms, mounts, hounds, tavern fare, beverages, pipe leaves, fungi, and herbs. Complete game rules for easy to follow procedures for travel, camping, foraging, dungeon delving, encounters, combat, and downtime. Do want to mention, this does contain adult themes and elements of horror, so this might not be suitable for kids. The 192-page hardcover can be pre-ordered right now for $30. That will include, to my knowledge, the PDF if you order from exaltedfuneral.com. Of course, if you're ordering it in North America, that's where you're going to order it from. The book is expected to arrive this fall or winter. The book's done. It's been printed. It's a tariff thing. It's really my understanding. It's a tariff thing that's been holding all of this up. Now, if you just want to score the PDF alone, it has been out for a while. So you can pick it up over at DriveThruRPG for $15. That's a pretty nice price on that PDF. Gotta say, I am curious about Dolmenwood. I do believe my friends over at Exalted Funeral will be sending along review copies of it because Mike Contact and I have chatted a little bit about it in the past, and he knows I'm interested, as well as a lot of folks out there watching are interested too. Sweet. So finally, looks like there's some light at the end of the tunnel as far as Dolmenwood. Kathy Evans is with us in chat, as is DB. And Sean O'Dell said they'll gladly take all the Tales of the Valiant reviews they can get. That part of the shelf looks too lonely. Well, you got to remember, there isn't a ton that's come out for Tales of the Valiant. There are some adventures that have been released in PDF. So I don't really know much about that. I could always probably get Sammy to do some reviews on them. I also mentioned, I know we're jumping back to Kobold Press. I got a copy of Tales of the Valiant as well as other items that are out on Foundry from my friends over at Kobold Press. I had been kind of poking around, taking a peek at it. Pretty nicely done. I have not gotten into all the implementation yet. One of the problems with Foundry is they'll do an update to the core software, and then it breaks all these things. It's like, yeah, okay, I get it. I understand. You're looking to improve Foundry. And then it's like, well, now I can't run my campaign I've been running. So everybody I hear from, they're always like, do not update Foundry when the new updates come out. Just keep using the one you got until everything's been updated and then segue into that new update. So there is that. Moving right along. There's a new Humble Bundle, which features third-party Dungeons & Dragons releases. They are 5e releases. And I've got the deets on the deal. Jumpstart your next campaign. Gather your party and unleash the full might of Dungeons & Dragons with this Ultimate D&D Accessories Bundle. Forged in partnership with the Dungeon Masters Guild and authorized by Wizards of the Coast, this legendary collection spills over with challenging adventures, groundbreaking rule expansions, and must-have player options. Brave sprawling modern epics like Call from the Deep and The Haunt, or level up your campaign with treasure troves of character options from Xanathar's Lost Notes to everything else. Whether you're a shape-shifting druid, relentless barbarian, or iron-willed monk, this bundle is a veritable loot table of D&D treasures. Expand your table, ignite your imagination, and join the fight for good, because every purchase supports Extra Life. The titles in this bundle will be available through 2 partners, some on DriveThruRPG, some with Roll20. Now, you can jump aboard for as little as $5, or you can go all in and score all 19 PDFs for a donation of $25 or more. I will be the first to point out I don't know jack about most of the releases here. I do know that I think it's 5 volumes of Unchained had been reviewed by Sammy on the Gaming Gang website. And not Unchained, Uncaged. Sorry about that. I gotta say, she loved them. They got really high review scores. So there is that. Moving right along. Adventure Conqueror King System Revised, or what's also known as Acts 2, has now landed in print. And first off is the rule book. Here's the latest from Autarch LLC. Enter a world where empires stand on the brink of war and terrible monsters tear at the fragile borderlands of men, where decaying cities teem with chaos and corruption. Weeping innocents are sacrificed to chthonic cults, and nobles live in decadent pleasure while the realm burns. Where heroes, wizards, and rogues risk everything in pursuit of glory, fortune, and power. This is a world where adventurers can become conquerors, and conquerors can become kings. You know, like Conan. The Adventure Conqueror King System Imperial Imprint. See, I thought it was just called Acts II because it's Acts 2. I guess the Imperial Imprint's just a little wink and a nudge, I suppose. Is the new edition of the acclaimed best-selling fantasy role-playing game. It offers everything you need to enjoy epic fantasy campaigns with a sweeping scope. Whether you want to crawl through dungeons, experiment with alchemy, crossbreed monsters, run a merchant emporium, raise an undead legion, or conquer an empire, Acts 2, well, I guess it should be Acts II, supports your play style. The revised rulebook features 21 character classes, each with 8 quick start templates featuring pre-selected proficiencies, spells, equipment, and encumbrance that let you start playing in minutes. 110 proficiencies carefully selected to help you customize your character. 378 spells carefully calibrated for long campaigns that ascend from dungeon delves to pitched battles with armies. Dungeon delving mechanics that let your adventurers interact with the subterranean environment. Wilderness expedition rules that bring the challenges and dangers of the wild to life. Sea voyage and naval warfare systems with mechanics for boarding, grappling, ramming, rowing, sailing, and siege weapons. Combat mechanics that play like a realistic simulation of ancient hand-to-hand battle. Stronghold and domain rules that allow you to establish domains, rule realms, take vassals, establish a senate, and more. Hijinks and hideout rules, magic research mechanics, and lots more. The 550-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $65 at DriveThruRPG. There was a limited edition, which I'm actually sharing the cover of. That, I believe, carries an MSRP of $75. It is sold out from Autarch, but there are copies available through online retailers. If you want to get that faux leather feel going. Now, if you just want to grab the PDF, hell, you can do that over at DriveThruRPG for $25. I had a chance to review the core book for Axe. I liked it. I liked it a lot. In fact, the creator sent me a bunch of stuff, a bunch of supplements and things like that. And I will be very honest, all of a sudden, I did the review of Axe, the core book, and I had a lot of people complaining and throwing hate at me because of the author's political views. I gotta be honest, these days, I just don't give a shit. That's why I will sit here and I will share news pieces from people of all walks of life. As long as, you know, you're not a murderer or something like that. If you're not like, you know, Mr. or Mrs. Hate Speech, I figure I'll share the news. You people decide for yourselves, right? So there you have it. Raven is with us in chat. So is Mike. And Raven says, great game. Axe. I'm going to keep saying Axe 2. I'm not going Axe II. Axe II, Captain. To me, is the spiritual successor to BECMI. Huh. Okay. That's kind of cool. I'll be very honest. Some of you folks don't watch the show enough to probably catch this when I talk about these things. I left D&D behind in like 1982 and didn't really start taking a peek at anything till like 4E. And that was like the end of 4E. So I, like, you know, BECMI. Well, Basic Expert was around, but yeah, so yeah. And Raven says Foundry has those games as well, and they are less clunky. Shazam85 says, what about exterminators like the Orkin Man? Some discussion about Fantasy Grounds as well as Foundry, and the Madman makes a very valid, legitimate point. You know, they've invested too much in Fantasy Grounds to switch to Foundry. And I get it. I completely understand. And the Madman says, as a player, they actually play in a campaign and the GM uses Foundry, and they like it as a player. The Madman likes it as a player. I got to say, I forgot to say hello to the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D this evening. I know she's hanging out with us. She emerged from the shadows for a moment to say hello and then took her glittery banhammer and retreated back into the shadows. All right, let's wrap up with our final news piece. The Crusader Journal has returned after 10 years. From Troll Lord Games, I've got the deets on issue 28. The Crusader Journal returns from its long absence with volume 28. The Crusader Journal of Intrepid Adventure is a magazine designed by the folks at Troll Lord Games. Its foundation lies in the early Seeker zine, which combined gaming philosophy with humor, tips and pointers for the community as a whole. Enjoy the new layout and design brought to you by the new editor-in-chief, Jeremy Farkas, and graphic designer Mel Henning. Within, you'll find a plethora of articles, a little humor. I don't know. Is it just a real little bit? Lot? But you're saying it's a little? I don't know. Maybe I don't want peanut butter in my chocolate or chocolate in my peanut butter. I don't mind a little bit of humor. That's fine in my game books or zines and stuff. This issue's highlights are a full adventure, Madrigal Bells, musings on amazing adventures by its creator, Jason Vey, an exploration of the arcane thief, rune lore, how to play hobgoblins, crafting, and more. The 45-page softcover is available physically from Troll Lord Games. Here's an MSRP of $12.99. If you want to grab the PDF over at DriveThruRPG, it's normally $9.99. Right now, it has a special price of $7.64. I didn't know why. It's kind of an odd price. I don't think it falls into any category of sale that's going on. But hey, save you a little bit of money. Save you a little bit of money. Yes. Kevin R. Smith is joining us, as is the Savage Splendor. They said they prefer Fantasy Grounds over Foundry 2. Their Foundry play has been way clunkier than Fantasy Grounds, which runs smoother. I would say, now, okay, keep in mind, remember, I'm not an expert on all the virtual tabletops by any stretch of the imagination. I had peeked a little into Fantasy Grounds because I was given a license, but it's not isn't it Fantasy Grounds Unity, something like that? That's not the one I've got. I've got the original. And I thought it was pretty interesting. And then, of course, Foundry came along and I received a license to that and took a peek at it. I would take a guess, and I could be absolutely wrong, like I am on a lot of things. I think the requirements for your computer is higher for Foundry than it is for Fantasy Grounds. So that might be why some people, when they try to run Foundry, find it to be clunkier. Now, I'm not saying it's the only reason, but that might be one of the reasons, because I have heard if you try to run Foundry and your specs just aren't up to snuff as far as your desktop, laptop, whatever you're using, that the experience really sucks. That's what I have heard. Raven says Castles and Crusades, another great game. They ran a Dragonlance campaign with the family years ago using C&C. Sweet. Raven says, I don't think so, since Foundry's browser-based. You may want to take a peek, because I have had people tell me that their rigs can't run Foundry. So even though it's essentially a browser that's being created, you still got hate to disagree with Raven, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. Now, I'm not saying that that's the only reason why things are clunky for people, because Foundry does have a steep learning curve. That's why I don't dive right into it. See, even Sean O'Donnell says, yeah, their old Lappy chugs badly on Foundry, even as a player. They have to host from their PC. Thank you, Sean O'Donnell, for backing me up. I only was saying that because I've heard from people who've told me that the experience on a laptop that's, it doesn't have to be cutting edge, but something that's just, yeah, maybe just used for browsing and stuff like that. Just, no. Yeah. Kevin R. Smith also points out that they've heard some Foundry mods can really slow things down, especially when they are not for the current version of Foundry. I had mentioned that a few minutes ago that one of the knocks, at least for me, is that every time there's an update to Foundry, it breaks practically everything that third parties have made for it. I talked to Wolfgang Bauer over at Kobold Press about this. And that's why a lot of people out there say, hey, you know what? When Foundry doesn't update, do not update. Just like there are a lot of people out there, when Windows doesn't update, they do not update their Windows for a few weeks because it's not unheard of for Microsoft to roll out a bad update that fucks your computer up. All right, so that was the news for this evening. Of course, I mentioned DriveThruRPG a few times. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to go visit DriveThruRPG, Dungeon Masters Guild, Storyteller Vault, what is it? What's Pathfinder? Isn't it Pathfinder Ultimate? I think is their third-party site. Any of those One Bookshelf sites. By all means, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners. That way, if you make a purchase, I get 5% of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around on a monthly basis. No joke. Really does. So if you are utilizing our affiliate links, thank you very, very kindly. Also, if you enjoy the Gaming Gang, if you find the channel and the website to be a valuable resource, hell, just like what we do, you can actually support the outlet in a couple of more ways. One, by making a one-time donation by way of PayPal. Buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Yes, it is much cooler, much colder tonight than it was last night. Last night was kind of almost room temperature. I was like, I'm like, yeah, I should have grabbed some ice before I came down here, but I didn't. Tonight, all good. And of course, you can also become a monthly member of our Patreon. You can find links in the show notes. And also in the show notes, you will find an invite link to our Discord server, which costs you absolutely nothing to join. So be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. Let's see. Keith Ulu says Foundry version 13's update was a real pain in the ass. Shazam is talking about, I assume it's an adventure for Shadow Dark they're thinking about picking up over on DriveThruRPG. And, Sarah D mentioned the Sims community. Yeah, don't update your Sims. Otherwise, all the mods that you've gotten are like, whomp, whomp, whomp. And there are some people out there at Sims community where they've got 100 gigs of content for their Sims game. And it's sort of like, wow, I can only imagine how long that takes to load their game up. Crazy. All righty. So once again, as I mentioned, that was the news tonight. You know, I always like to say thank you to our patrons. And I actually don't have the list right on hand. Give me a moment here. For some reason, because I copy and paste a lot of stuff when I do the news. And for some oddball reason, it did not paste over. So at the $5 level, we've got Gustavo Covalho, Jason Lawman, Kuval, Kevin R. Smith, Sean O'Donnell, and Talzik. At the $5 level, we have, at the $10 level, we have Matt W., Dan Webb, Game Cat, Pete Strakulich, RPG Munch, Tessie Trekkie, and Tier 2 DM. And at our $25 tier, it's Agile Monk and the Madman. So big thank you to all of our Patreon patrons, although oddly enough, Patreon doesn't want people calling them patrons, wants people to call them members. It's like, okay. I don't know. Kind of weird. Raven says they're trying to put a pause on Kickstarters for the rest of the month. Rest of the year. It already broke their promise this month. I thought I saw month. With one and another one later this month. Agile Monk is popping on in just to get a shout out. Just in time, I think, for the shout out. Bud Ness is with us. Might be a first time visit in chat for Bud Ness, who is, I believe, the great grandson of Elliot Ness. Maybe. I don't know. Any developments with that torso killer in Cleveland? Yes, I know. I'm being a little sillier tonight than normal. If you were watching earlier, I kind of explained why that happens. Anywho, so we are going to take a look at the West Marches campaign playstyle guide. Kind of an odd title, but yeah, a little longer than, doesn't roll off the tongue naturally, right? But we're going to take a look at that in just a few moments. Did want to mention, you might recall I was talking about there was a package with 5 books coming from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Games. And I said, yeah, I'm thinking this is lost because the tracking info is suddenly, it's, well, it was in, I think it was Palatine, if I remember correctly. Some processing, and it's through the post office. And then it was there, and it was, it's going to be delayed. And now it's saying that it's in transit to its next destination. It's like, yep. Yeah. Because it was supposed to arrive on the, I think it was supposed to arrive on the 30th originally. And then it dropped back to the 2nd. And now it's just like, we don't know. I don't know. Maybe it'll get there. Rafael Mores is with us saying greetings from Brazil. Says, let's go West Marches. Very cool. Yes, Budness says, always in transit. That's when the problems start. Thankfully, it doesn't happen too often. Shadow Dell says, next destination for Palatine. The hell would they go? Out to me? Weird. It is pretty weird. Anyway, so who knows when or if or when, I guess I should say, that box is going to show up. But I was informed by the contact I've got at the new marketing company, the new PR company for Wizards of the Coast, that we will see the Dungeons and Dragons starter set no later than Monday. So what I'm going to do is slate Tuesday's show for a live unboxing and first look at the new Dungeons and Dragons starter set. And then I think by the next day, I should have received my package from Trollord Games, which will have the Castles and Crusades starter set. Maybe we'll take a peek at that on Wednesday. Yeah, probably on Wednesday. So we shall see. But yeah, I'm interested because I've been talking about the Dungeons and Dragons starter set, and it's being promoted like it's a board game. Now, I don't know if that's because of a taxation, if it's, a tariff thing. Being shit. I said being shipped. Probably sounded like I said being shit. Being shipped overseas. I don't know. I don't know. No clue. No clue. But that's what's cooking next week. And this weekend, stay tuned, because I'll have my review of Call of Cthulhu, the Sutra of Pale Leaves, Carcosa Manifest, which is not in stores yet. I'm getting mixed information. I've seen information, and because usually what I do is I pay attention to distributors, because the distributors normally have a pretty good clue. Distributors normally don't steer me wrong. But I have heard September release. Now remember, this came out at Gen Con. So that's when I got my copy. It was handed to me with a few other cool items from my pals over at Chaosium Inc. And they had said, oh, it's supposed to hit stores in September, which is kind of par for the course for Gen Con releases, where we'll see them release at Gen Con and then they make their way into retail, usually September, October. So I'm hearing September. I'm also hearing October. So I'm not sure when it's coming out. But as of this weekend, you will at least know if it's going to be worth picking up, regardless of which month it arrives. So there is that. Raven says books are tariffed a lot less than board games. Right. Yeah, that's why I don't know. I have no idea why Wizards of the Coast is promoting the starter set as a board game. I think it's even mentioned in one of their sell sheets that it's a board game. And it's like, what? No, it's not. It's a role-playing game. Just because you're throwing cards and standees and stuff like that into it doesn't mean it's a board game. I don't know. We'll see. We'll get to check it out. We'll find out. Kevin R. Smith says tariffs aren't an issue for WotC because their stuff's manufactured in the U.S. But stuff from the U.S. going overseas is being tariffed by other countries. That's what I meant when I was talking about, I don't know if it's a tariff thing. But hey, who knows? Maybe one of these days we'll have states with tariffs against other states. Didn't that used to happen? Like early years of the colonies and stuff? Maybe I'm wrong. But I thought like late 1700s in the United States, there were like state tariffs, interstate tariffs and that. I don't know. Like I said, might be misremembering my history. So we've got Sathix79 says, international shipping is a pain in the butt. Yes. Every item needs a code. If customs thinks it's suspicious, they'll hold up shipments for weeks. Yes, I know, because I have done game sales, and I love that we get people from all around the world who watch and who want to get stuff that is just collecting dust here and show it some love and get it to their game tables and that. But when I see that they're outside the United States, I'm like, oh, here we go. And weirdly enough, I've had the most problems with Canada. I don't know. Budness says, yes, interstate tariffs were definitely a thing. I thought they were. Yeah, I thought they were. All righty. So tonight, we're going to dive on in. We are going to take a look at the West Marches Campaign Playstyle Guidebook. That's why you saw me glance down, because I'm that Campaign Playstyle Guidebook is kind of throwing me off. We're going to take a peek at that in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
Good evening. It's intermission time. And during the next 10 minutes, we invite you to visit our refreshment stand located in the center of the drive-in. find hot dogs, hamburgers, pizza, your favorite candies, hot and cold beverages, and other delicious snacks. So add to your fun of watching the movie. Visit our refreshment stand right now during our 10-minute intermission. We're glad to have you with us tonight. We hope you'll come to see us often. It's great. Get out to the movies.
Look, everybody! It's the M&M's Candy Smear!
Who can take a peanut?
Who can take a peanut?
Make it a delight.
Make it a delight.
Cover it with chocolate, then candy coat it right. The M&M's man.
The M&M's man.
The M&M's man, and he adds a lot of love to make it all taste good. And you know the milk chocolate melts in your mouth, not in your hand.
Hi there, time for Timer, your roving reporter. I'm talking to you from inside a fantastic factory, your digestive system. You know what we build here? You! Not out of wood or metal, but out of food. You see, you are what you eat from your head down to your feet. Things like meat and eggs and fish you need to build up muscle tissue. Uh-oh. Hello, appetite control, more protein. We need energy. Playing tennis today, you know. Whoops. All these motors in your body need a lot of fuel to go on, like carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, vitamins, and so on. What's left over forms the building blocks you need, indeed, to grow on. Yes, you are what you swallow, so that next time you feel hollow, don't just fill your face with any old kind of treat. This goes for every kid or 6-foot athlete. All you really are is what you eat.
How about a delicious cup of Wilkins coffee? No! Strange things happen to people who don't drink Wilkins.
Massive, mighty, magnificent, Hercules and the Captive Women. Here at last, an extraordinary adventure. Fascinating, compelling, thrilling. The ultimate in screen entertainment. Hercules and the Captive Women.
Kill me. Kill me, I beg you.
With a new and dynamic personality. Reg Park as Hercules. Frightening with barbaric rituals. Terrifying with murder and intrigue. Hercules, with all the power of his legendary strength, stands alone against these mysterious beings of superhuman power. Hercules and the Captive Women, caught in the grip of a beautiful and passionate woman whose secret sadistic love rituals gave him superhuman strength.
If you will join me in the conquest of the world, all mankind will recognize me as their queen and adore you as the one and only God. Love me, Hercules, and together we shall reign over men and gods.
Hercules and the Captive Women, starring Reg Park and Faye Spain. Don't miss this all-new, outstanding motion picture adventure. Massive in scope, mighty in thrilling action, magnificent in Technicolor and Technorama. Hercules and the Captive Women.
Awesome. Hey, wait a second. That jumped out ahead of us here. See, that's what happens when we have a live stream where we had no news pieces. I have to reassemble the show for the next nights. Yeah, it's not where that goes. I was going to say, we've got some folks who are curious about the history of intermissions here in the United States. I will help you out with this. So, dating all the way back to the 1930s. Movies that were long, like big, epic films, like, say, Gone with the Wind. You would actually, as you came into the theater, they didn't have, oh, here's ads and here's trailers for movies and things as you came in. And the big movies would actually have the music from that film playing. And then you would have a break. So you would have an intermission. Another great example of this would be Lawrence of Arabia. And same thing, you get to about the halfway point of the movie, there is an intermission, but it's just music. Now, we start moving into like the 40s and 50s. So you would have a double bill. Most theaters had a double bill. So you had your A film, your big name film, your headline film, and then you would have the B movie. That's where the term B movie comes from, because you had your A and your B. So intermission came between the A film and the B film, and that's when they started to fill it with, let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Stuff like that, which, funny enough, I have never been able to share outside of one time. And I had actually remastered the video with the audio for that, and it is copywritten. So I got a flag for a copyright when I shared it the one time. That's why you will never see me share that little, let's all go to the lobby, because I can't. They'll demonetize the video, or, well, they won't demonetize it. They'll give the monetization to the copyright holder. But yes, that is how most movie theaters, and then you had drive-ins, would do the same thing, except drive-ins might only have B movies, but they would have a double bill. Sometimes you'd get a triple bill. DB says they remember when their dad took them to see Lawrence of Arabia when it was revived. That's when I saw it, when they were a kid. And when the intermission started, I shouted, "What? That's it?" Yep, there you go. End of the movie. Yep. DB said you're going to get stuck just for singing it. Maybe not. So yes, DB says most of these intermission shorts ran at drive-ins in the 60s. That is true. And a lot of times I'll actually throw in television ads as well into the mix. I just kind of shoot for 60s, 70s. Every once in a while, I'll go do 50s and stuff like that. Like, I think that Hercules movie is like really super early 60s. Although there's a bare breast in that movie. Yeah, that's right. And if I remember correctly, I don't think they blurred it in the episode of MST3K that riffed on it. I was like, yeah, yes. DB says they were joking. Hey, trust me, I would not be shocked. That would not surprise me. Real quick, and we'll wrap this up and we'll move into what we're here to look at. There are a lot of people out there on YouTube who make copyright claims that do not own the rights to the stuff they claim they do. And the reason why they do it is because it's just such a pain in the ass to fight it. Because to fight it could take months. And during that period of time, you're not going to earn anything off of that video. So if I ever get flagged for like audio, and normally what I do is I will upload the brief intermission. The one we watched tonight, it's a rerun. I've shared it before. But when I do a new brief intermission, I upload it to YouTube. And normally they will let me know within 20 minutes or so if it's going to get flagged for copyright. Every once in a while, everything will be just Jake. Everything's just fine until I do the stream. And then all of a sudden the next day it's like, oh, that 30 seconds in your brief intermission is setting off our copyright. So you're not going to earn any money off the video. So when that happens, I get rid of it. Well, I get rid of the music or whatever it was that set it off. Chris Lundgren's joining us tonight. I got to say, I'm kind of surprised we've got so many people in chat, seeing that the NFL season's kicking off. I'm kind of curious how many of you out there are, watching this and you got the game on. Yeah. Or maybe this is on in the background, right? So, yes, during the brief intermission, I checked the score. Tied at 7. That was a few minutes ago, but still. All righty. So tonight, we are going to dive on in. We're going to take a look at the West Marches Campaign Playstyle Guidebook, which is written by Karl Otto Kristoffersen, the famed actor and songwriter. Oh, no, wait, that was Chris Kristoffersen. This 44-page zine is available in PDF over at DriveThruRPG. It's currently available for $4.99. Now, strangely, you can't get the soft cover at this moment that we're going to take a peek at. You used to. And first, I think it was 20. And now it's, last it was up, it was $12.99. But DriveThruRPG is not currently showing that you can order this soft cover zine. So I'm thinking there might be like an edit that's going to be done to this. That's why they've taken it down. But you should be able to get this in print, because I'm going to tell you right now, we are not hallucinating this by any stretch of the imagination. Nope. I'm pretty sure we're seeing this for real. Agile Monk says their football is the gaming gang. Sean O'Donnell said, me singing that jingle added sufficient artistic value. Yes, sufficient artistic value to this video. Raven says the NFL would be a distraction. Hey, you know what? I thought this was blank on the back. Let's take a peek at the back. Should mention before we dive in, Karl Otto Kristoffersen was kind enough to send along this review copy. But also keep in mind, neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. That is important to know. We're also not going to look at each and every page of the book. I do want to give you a really good feel for what you're going to find inside. Plus, a lot of people are curious, what is a West Marches campaign? More people are curious because the upcoming season of Critical Role is going to feature a campaign which is supposedly going to be sort of West Marches. So, welcome to the West Marches. This playstyle makes it easy to run epic adventures, no matter how packed your calendar is. Inside these pages, you'll find everything you need to run a living, breathing, open-world RPG where players explore on their own terms. Sessions are driven by curiosity, and the world changes with every choice the players make. Whether you're a new game master or a seasoned storyteller, this handbook offers practical tools and flexible guidelines to help you build a world worth discovering, one adventure at a time. All right. Kind of cool cover art. I like that. So I think that's supposed to be the silhouette of an adventurer down there. Shazama85 points out the recent Arcane Library is a West Marches or Shadow Dark. Yeah, it was the recent Kickstarter, wasn't it? DB says the book seems real. Agile Monk says the gaming gang brings far greater value than anything the NFL is doing these days. So that's their stance. I don't know. I still watch football. I like football. I got a couple of bets on tonight's game. Yeah, like $3 each, but still. Okay, so here we've got our forward. We've got our table of contents. Do we have a credits page? Written and designed. And looks like art is by Ink Potion Studios. There's also some public domain or licensed by Canva Typography. Okay. What is West March's play? A West March's campaign. So here's something else I should point out. I have heard people say West Marches. I have heard people say West Marshes. It's like, so you may have heard me like pronounce it a couple of different ways because I'm still not positive. I think it's supposed to be West Marches. It's a style of role-playing game that focuses on player freedom, open exploration, and group storytelling. What? No rails? Manman says, Canva Typography, isn't that AI? So, from my understanding, let's get this right out in the open. This is written by hand. I guess the layout and I guess like some of the, I don't know, like spell check, stuff like that was done by AI, but this is not written by AI. That's my understanding. Now, if that's the case, fantastic. If that's not the case, I'm not aware of it. So this is different from other play styles because there is no fixed group. Different players can join different sessions. There's no storyline. Players choose where to go and what to do. The world changes over time. What one group does can affect others. Think of West Marches as a shared wilderness filled with secrets, monsters, ruins, and treasures. Everyone starts in the same home base, like a town or fort, but what happens outside the walls is totally up to the players. It's a living world where groups go out on expeditions and bring back stories. So it's sandbox. What I'm kind of curious about, and I'm sure we're going to find out as we kind of flip through, is the concept of the West Marches compared to like a sandbox or like a hex crawl. And yes, I understand. Usually hex crawls have one game master and that is it. So, but I'm just kind of curious. Kevin R. Smith, who tends to know a lot of these things, says it is pronounced, as far as I guess this is what he's saying, it is pronounced West Marches because the original West Marches campaign took place in the West Marches, as in Western Frontier region of the GM's world. For some reason, and I always kind of phrase it like, I could absolutely be wrong, right? I seem to remember way back in the day, there was something from Judges Guild, which was the West Marches. Am I just imagining that? I'm just kind of curious. It says the modern West Marches playstyle was formalized by a game designer named Ben Robbins in the early 2000s. He had a big group of friends who loved to play D&D, but with busy adult schedules and the usual wait for the DM to tell us what to do approach, things felt a little bit slow and scripted. So he decided to try something different. All right, so right there, Agile Monk says, yeah, Judges Guild 1980. Maybe that was the setting. that this game master utilized? I don't know. So kind of gives us the origin story. It doesn't tell us. I mean, I'm getting the assumption, just kind of peeking at this, that the GM's campaign, or I guess in this case it would be a DM, their campaign was homebrew. It's a world waiting to be explored. West Marches is like a big map with lots of pins. Each game session is like putting one pin on that map. Players go somewhere, explore something, and then come back. The rest of the map, still waiting to be explored. Here's what makes it special. Exploration is the heart of the game. Goals are chosen by the players. Sessions are one-shots with no required group or schedule. The world is alive. What you do today changes what's there tomorrow. The GM is a fair referee. They run the world, but they don't control the story. Players help build the story through teamwork, creativity, and sharing. So grab your map, grab your gear, rally a crew. The frontier awaits. Joshua Williams is joining us in chat. Says, Wilderland of the Fantastic Reaches. Was that the Judges Guild release? So we got our core principles. Players drive the game. Exploration is the goal. The hometown is safe. Town is safe always. There are no monsters in town. No surprise attacks. No big political plots. This is very important. Keeps things simple and fair for everyone. If someone can't join a session, their character is still back in town. Safe and sound. Also, since each session ends in town, players can jump in or out of the game without messing up the group. Everyone starts fresh each time. Inside town, you can rest and heal, buy and sell gear, train and improve, do research, pick up rumors, plan your next trip. Players share what they discover. That's another of the rules. The GM runs the world, not the story. In West Marches, the game master is like a neutral referee, almost like a world simulator. They don't tell the story, the players do, which is sort of interesting, mentioning referee. Way back in the day, we're talking 80s, early 90s. Like with my best friend Elliot Miller, our friends, like Elliot's nephew Paul, our friend Ed Ruprecht, other players who kind of came and went, and even going back before that into our high school years with our friends Scott Weigel, who from time to time we see here in chat, my buddy Daryl Melzer, Tim Phelan, other guys that were part of the Gamers Guild. We didn't use the term Dungeon Master. We always used the term referee. So it would be, I'll ref this game. I could ref. Even when we played Call of Cthulhu, I never referred to myself, nor did the players ever refer to me as the keeper until 2000s. Kind of wild. Let's see. Pete Strakulich is with us in chat. I'm not sure if I said hello to Pete, or I should say Pete Strakulich when he popped on in. So this means the Game Master doesn't give out main quests for the characters, tell players where to go, adjust encounters to match the party level. Instead, the Game Master makes sure the world reacts fairly, runs the monsters, weather, terrain, and time, and allows the world to emerge through play. So what I'm getting so far, because I'll be the first to point out, I am pretty clueless to a West Marches campaign outside of what I understood, where it's, you can have multiple game masters. They're all running, games in the world. Players can jump ship or whatever, right? It looks as if you could take a hex crawl as a game master and utilize that as your kind of base. right? Your skeleton to hang things onto. Because I talk about this all the time. Completely random adventures just end up being exactly that. Completely random. So something like populated hexes monthly, I think probably is something that a lot of people, or things like that. Not necessarily has to be populated hexes, but I kind of think that would be an excellent tool for game masters using a West Marches campaign play style. Only plan one session at a time. Here's a big secret to making West Marches easy to run. Only prepare for one session at a time. Players tell the GM where they want to go. The GM then preps that place, not the whole world. There's no need to write big storylines. No need to build dungeons the players might never visit. Just wait until the players pick something they want to do, then prep that one thing. That I can understand. I like that. I have heard that before. That's why, unless I'm running like a Call of Cthulhu adventure, if I'm running like an OSR styled game, and I've talked about this before because people talk about, oh my God, all this prep. Oh, I don't have time to prep. All you got to do is prep for what you think the players might get up to, right? Have a few different encounters, have some locations, things like that you feel comfortable running. And, usually you'll prep for the length of your session. I would usually prep for about an hour or so more. And I don't think I ever ran out of stuff that I had prepared. And when I say prep, I don't mean that I sat there and studied everything and, okay, so I got to memorize these stat blocks. No, not that. So that way players would play and they'd be like, wow, yeah, that kind of flowed really naturally, as opposed to, hold on, let me look up my notes here. Agile Monk says, prep, we don't need no stinking prep. Yeah, I am a proponent of preparation. I don't necessarily think that people need to, go overboard. So Retired on a Bike is with us in chat. First time visit in chat. Welcome aboard. Make yourself comfortable. Says, interesting that when they were the forever GM, or I'm sorry, DM. Yeah, I know all about that. All he did was West Marches, but just called it playing D&D. Yep, exactly. And what's happened is all of these heavily plotted adventures. And, they can be a lot of fun. I've said before, a railroad can be a lot of fun if, you get to sightsee some really cool stuff on the trip. But yeah, it has gotten to the point, even, we talk about the Pathfinder adventure paths. We did the first look, the Paizo preview last night. Some of those are just so plotted out that, in my opinion, game masters feel kind of like they don't have much wiggle room when they're running an adventure. And as someone who has run Call of Cthulhu for over 40 years, one of the reasons why I want to run kind of an OSR game, that's why we're playtesting the rules that I've thrown together, is because as much as I love Call of Cthulhu and some horror role playing, that has to be plotted out. And I know there are people out there like, oh, no. Oh, here's the latest, greatest Lovecraft role-playing game. And it's, it's a committee game and everybody just puts their mark on the game. Oh, it was so scary. Bullshit. I'll tell you right now. Bullshit. You might have had somebody come up with something creepy, but for a horror game to be scary, the game master has to have some ideas of what's at, the end of the tunnel, right? What's behind the door? What's behind the locked door? Not, well, we'll just cover it as we go. All right, so let's get back to the West Marches Campaign Playstyle Guidebook. Pete Stracklet says, more games need to utilize scratch-off character sheets. It's so smooth. Oh, you mean like Dungeon Crawl Classics? Shazama85 says, at the shop, they would call it drop in, drop out D&D. Okay, funny enough, and I swear we'll get back to this. It's the last show of the week. We tend to run long. I have been trying to experiment with ways for us to play the gang, to play a fantasy role-playing game. I will game master it. But the problem is that my best friend, Elliot Miller, is very hit or miss as far as being a player. So essentially we have my brother, my nephew Cameron, and Elliot. Now, when we rolled up characters for my homebrew, Cameron's girlfriend joined us. So I don't know if we've got her going forward or not. And the thing is, it's really tough to run like a fantasy role-playing game when you only got a couple of players and they are not experienced players who probably would not enjoy having to run more than one character at a time. So something like this would work very nicely. I'm just kind of curious how I could work it into maybe as few as 2 players in the game. Starting your West Marches campaign. So that walks us through setting things up, how to design a safe and simple starting town, tips for sketching your wilderness and creating your first few locations, how to seed the world with rumors and hooks, what tools to help keep your game organized, how to run a clear and helpful session 0 for your players. That's what I'm kind of curious about. So invite and explain the rules. Now that you've got your world ready, it's time to gather your adventurers. West Marches works best with a larger pool of players. See, this is where I stumble. Maybe like 6 to 12 players or even more. That way, there's always someone who can play. At your session 0, explain how things work. You can play whenever you want. Just make a group, plan a session. Every adventure starts and ends in town. There's no story I'm forcing on you. You choose what to do. Some places are really dangerous. If you want to survive, work together, or should probably mention, or run like hell. Few big movers for the gaming experience. Encourage teamwork and sharing discoveries. Remind them it's okay to fail. Running away can be smart. Well, there you go. Get them excited to explore. The world is theirs to uncover. Those of you who are hanging out with us in chat, I'm curious if you have experience with a West Marches campaign. What kind of overall, okay, so as an example, right? So we get, let's say, as the game's progressing and you've got a location, and maybe one of the locations is some general who's trying to take over the West Marches. How do you ever have like an overall I don't mean necessarily a story, but just kind of like a story arc I'm kind of curious. Because if every game just... See, that's what kind of throws me off a little with this. Because you establish the world should have some things that go on, right, that are beyond the characters, right? Like, you know, maybe the king is dead, and yeah, maybe there's a conflict of who's going to be the new king. Just kind of curious. How do you, okay, something else. How do you establish like a, like big baddie? DB says in the game they played, there was no overall arc and they found it a little unsatisfying. See, that's kind of what I'm getting at. So we have embracing character death. In West Marches, the wilderness is truly dangerous and character death is part of the game. Not every encounter is fair and not every retreat comes in time. That's intentional. Death adds weight to the world. I completely agree with that. It reminds everyone that choices matter and that the frontier is untamed and unforgiving. It also leads to some of the most powerful stories your group will ever tell. See, this is what I mean. If you're only playing one-shot sessions, how much of a story are you going to establish? Joshua Williams asks, if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, does it make a sound? My answer to that has always been yes. Here's why character death belongs in West Marches. It raises the stakes. It encourages caution and planning. It makes survival memorable. It adds to the world's history. Okay, so that's helping me a little bit there as far as, you know, how do you establish this world if every time you play it's just something different rather than just being, you know, these are just a bunch of, you know, random locations that you just happen to make your way out to. Shardal says, go clockmaker and set up the mentioned general on the hexes and his opposite number on the other side of the town. Rumors reach the players over time and the town gets closer to the center of events as the sessions play out. Stray Kismet says, I remember my first hex crawl. You got eaten by cobra. Poison sucks. Embracing character death also creates space for new characters. Well, obviously enough. What section are we in now? Between adventures, so we've got some downtime activities. I got to say, this looks really interesting. And I can guarantee you there are probably loads of tips that I could take from this without even ever running a West Marches campaign. Time keeps moving, even when no session is happening. See, I knew this about West Marches campaigns. Time in the world moves forward. Let weeks or months pass between sessions. That means dungeons might get refilled, enemies regroup or migrate, rumors grow, fade, or change. New threats emerge, especially if left alone. So talking about session prep. Ask the players what they want to do. So my understanding is that that's like the last thing you do in a session is the characters are back in town. Then you ask the players, well, what do you want to do next? Then they tell you. So then that way you know what to prep. So you want to prepare the relevant locations or scenes, a couple of combat encounters, any NPCs or strange discoveries, plan travel time, I should say, and some weather or road events, track time, review rumors, notes, and previous discoveries, create some new rumors or clues in case they come back to town. So putting together session reports. Reports don't have to be long. They just need to pass on useful information. And then expanding the world, we've got some final thoughts. West Marches isn't about telling a perfect story. It's about creating a living world and letting players explore it together at their own pace with real choices and real stakes. It's a style of play that invites discovery, encourages teamwork, and thrives on surprise. I would also say, I don't know if it's in these final thoughts here, that this style of an approach also allows for just players to come and go without creating any hard feelings. Because I'm sure the vast majority of you out there who play role-playing games, you have been off for your, headed off to your normal session, got there, and then suddenly somebody doesn't show up or a couple of people don't show up. And it's kind of like, oh, great. Now what? So Joshua Williams says, so rather than at the end of a session, players agree on a course of action when they are choosing which group to join. Kevin R. Smith says, their understanding is players may not tell you what they want to do next in a West Marches game. Between sessions, players decide what they want to explore next and recruit other players and PCs. See, I had heard of that too, where the players try to recruit other players. Interesting. Very cool. So once again, this is the West Marches Campaign Playstyle Guidebook written by Karl Otto Kristoffersen. The 44-page zine is currently only available in PDF over at DriveThruRPG. You can get it at a special price of $4.99. I think the reason why you can't order the soft cover right now is there might be some edits being made, maybe a change here and there. So usually if that happens and it is something that's printed by DriveThruRPG, they'll pull it down until the new file has been approved and all that. So I would think in the not too distant future, you can get your hands on this as a soft cover like we've been taking a peek at. And last time I was up, it was $12.99. Sweet. Very cool. All right. So that is it for tonight's show. Well, actually, I thought we were going to maybe hit 2 hours, but I guess not. That's cool. Even with all my silliness and goofing around, it's all right. It's all right. Don't forget, if you tuned in a little bit later on Tuesday's show, knock on wood, we're going to take a first look at the new Dungeons & Dragons starter set. And if things play out properly, we should be looking at the Castles and Crusades starter set on Wednesday. And then we'll see what's cooking. Oh, I should also mention, remember, September is Small Publisher September. So I am focusing more on smaller publishers and individuals and things like that. That does not mean that I'm not covering the usual lineup of publishers that I bring you coverage of. I'm just trying to get more coverage of small companies out there as well. So very nice. Kevin R. Smith says they have another book of advice on West Marches campaigns. This one looks more straightforwardly written. Yeah, this looked like this was pretty to the point. A lot of bullet points, things like that. So nice. Very, very cool. So if you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, hey, tip of the cap for you. Because not only were you keeping me company, you were also keeping each other company as I was sharing the news and flipping on through the zine we peeked at tonight. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. I really do appreciate all of you taking time out to watch any of the over 2,300 videos that are here on the channel. No joke. It really does mean a lot. Okay, everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Whenever you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. Of course, if you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because not only will it supposedly in a perfect world notify you when the Discord streams live at 7 p.m. Central, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube. I'll also let you know when I share other videos, such as this coming weekend's review of Call of Cthulhu, The Sutra of Pale Leaves, Carcosa Manifest from Chaosium Inc. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. And as always, I certainly hope every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.